Bite-Sized Podcast. I am your host, Simone Southers, and this is sadly the last episode of the podcast. And what I wanted to do today is just reflect a bit on previous episodes. Although brief, it definitely fits into this bite-sized format of the podcast. To start, this podcast was for an internship, but I really enjoyed the process of making an episode. So just recording and mixing, mastering, and then putting it up online for people to hear if they want to. And I personally am very grateful for my own background in audio engineering because I would have struggled a bit more and be a bit more lost in what my process was to edit these recordings and putting them up on YouTube. So yeah, it's definitely something that's helped me come out of my comfort zone and is also another method of critical analysis, but through public speaking. Another thing I was reflecting on when trying to think of what to do for this episode is that this podcast was challenging to make. Obviously, podcasts are not easy in itself, but given the themes of what my internship is and that this is for school or university essentially, it did not make things super easy on me, but I also enjoyed the process of learning and challenging myself on thinking more critically about the things I consume, just things that are normally looked down upon. One thing I would also like to say is that I genuinely like all of the episodes that I've produced. I feel really proud of myself for stepping outside of this nervous, anxious box that I've kept myself in, and to be able to put my ideas out there for people to ingest and enjoy. Even if not a lot of people watch or listen, I honestly don't really mind. It's just something more for myself, if anything, and if others enjoy it, that's cool as well. This podcast could have quite literally been about anything under the sun, but I chose to podcast about fanfiction because I feel, as someone who's inside the fandom culture, I have a pretty deep connection with it. I find it very interesting how more established, well-known authors and authors of fanfiction are similar but not the same, although one is more obviously well established than the average fanfic writer. And I am proud of the content I've made, even if it's not everyone's cup of tea. If I did have an opportunity like this again, I would go more in depth about fanfic culture and just fandoms in general. One big takeaway that I have from this is just to enjoy what I like, but also have a critical eye about it. Because as much as we want things to be sunshines and rainbows and flowers and honeybees, sweet and all that, just without any biases or any harmful underlying tones, that is not the case. And it needs to be known and not taken lightly. So that is the end of this episode and the end of this podcast. Thank you to anyone who has been along with me on this little journey of mine, and I will see you not in the next episode, but hopefully sometime in the future.